In this video, we're going to cover kind of what goes into putting together an offer and submitting it once we do find your actual home. And so we're really going to start with what's called a CMA, or a comparative market analysis, right? So once we do our home tours and we find a home that you're really interested in, what I will do is go in and take a look at what have homes sold for that are like in structure and condition to the home that you liked. What are they sold for in that area, to kind of give us a baseline of what the home could be appreciated, to give us an idea of where the home would be appraised. And so from there, what we'll do, and I'll go cover that in a different video. From there, we'll kind of have a baseline, so we kind of have a range of like, all right, 100, pretty much 99% confident it's going to appraise here, and up to here we can feel pretty good about. And the reason for that is that when we submit an offer, we want to submit an offer that is going to close. So you can't necessarily just try to win the offer by throwing out the highest price if you can't back it up realistically based on your financing or your cash on hand. And so we'll want to find an offer that we can feel confident is going to close based on the criteria that you're operating under with regard to the loan and your cash on hand. And so we'll cover kind of like some strategies around that in another video. But suffice it to say, we're going to take a look at what the market rate for that home would be so that we can feel confident about the offer that we're putting forward. From there, we're going to really kind of decide on the terms of the offer. And so that'll be covered in another video, but think of it this way. Price is going to be the biggest one, of course. From there, it's going to be timeline. Timeline includes things like the total escrow period. So this is from time of acceptance to typically the time that you get keys, how long that is. In the Sacramento area, depending on the type of loan that you're using and the lender that you're working with, it can be as short as 15 days, which I have closed several homes in that time frame that are financed, to as much as 30 days. We very rarely go beyond 30 days. And then it's more so because of circumstance specific to that house. Because anything above 30 days, the competitiveness of an offer like that is just smaller. And so keep that in mind when we're kind of going through it. But the typical escrow period that we submit is about 21 days. And most lenders can definitely get it done within that time frame. Along with that, the other time frames that we'll go into detail when we go into the offer video is your contingencies. So these are your inspections, your appraisal, and your loan, which we'll cover in more detail. But suffice it to say that within the standard contract, an appraisal contingency is about 17 days, a loan contingency is 21 days, and inspections are 17 days. And so, to be competitive, we would more than likely shorten all of those. And so we'll go over that when we talk about how to structure a successful offer. From there, the other pieces that we're going to need prior to submitting, or in order to submit a successful offer, are your proof of funds. So we basically want to show that, yep, we've got a loan. That's the pre-approval letter, right? We're going to get that from your lender, confirming that you have access to those funds. And then we also want to confirm that you have access to the funds for the down payment and the closing costs, right? So that could be a retirement statement, that could be a bank statement, whatever it is. If you're utilizing gift funds from family, we'll handle that differently. So we don't necessarily need a statement from them in order to submit, but nevertheless, we will still need a bank statement, a financial statement from you to confirm that you have access to some funds that you're going to be potentially applying towards the purchase of this home. And then it's on me, if you are using gift funds, to be able to communicate that and still leverage it in a way to get us the deal when it comes to negotiating the offer for you. And so I mentioned the pre-approval letter. That's why it's so important that you actually connect with a lender well ahead of time before we actually find your home. A lot of people make the mistake of waiting until they find a home to get pre-approved, and by that point, it's just too late. Homes in Sacramento, if they catch your eye, they are typically on the market on a Wednesday or Thursday and off market in contract by the following Tuesday. And so that timeline is very quick. And so you just want to make sure that you're in the strongest position to take action. And so that pre-approval letter is going to be key to get from your lender, and it's different from a pre-qualification. A pre-qualification is just you talking to them, you giving them verbally your numbers, and them kind of popping them into the computer and saying, well, based on what you're telling me, here's kind of the ballpark. That's a pre-qualification. The pre-approval doesn't really get granted until you actually send documentation that they can verify what you told them and say, okay, now that I've seen your bank statements, now that I've seen your tax statements, now that I've seen your W-2 and your what's it called, your pay stubs, now I feel confident. Yes, we can confidently approve you for this, right? And that's what carries the weight when we're submitting an offer. The final piece that you can see the question marks underneath it is a buyer letter. I'd say about 1 in 10, 2 in 5, 1 in 5 of my clients submit a buyer letter. It's more rare than you think. In today's market, it's one of those situations where really the level of competitiveness, it's rare that the letter makes a difference. It does happen, and it'll just depend on the sellers. If it's a seller that is not lived in the house, it's a total rental, they're just looking to get top dollar, doesn't matter. Same with an investor. They don't really, that personal touch isn't going to sway them either way. If it's somebody that's lived there for multiple generations and there's a very personal connection to the house and they kind of want to find somebody that's going to bring that same love and care for the house, possibly could make a difference. But again, your letter is only going to be as good as your offer at the end of the day, because if there's an offer that is just too good to pass on, and even if they didn't include a letter, that's just where it's going to fall. So leave it up to you to determine if you want to write a buyer's letter. We definitely do have examples and some guidance that we can provide for you on that, but just know, don't put too much weight in it, because at the end of the day, it's kind of a smaller piece of the consideration puzzle that a seller is going to be taking into account when determining what offer to select. But these are the main things. So just know, we're going to look at what the market pricing would look like. We're going to look at the terms to make sure that these are terms that we can feel confident about, because we'll coordinate them with the lender to make sure that we're syncing up with their processes, but still making them competitive relative to the other offers so that we can get it into contract. We're going to need a bank statement or some kind of financial statement that shows you have access to funds, even if it's not the entirety of the funds, but some funds that you're going to be able to put towards the purchase of the home. A pre-approval letter that we will secure from the lender that you're working with, and then leave it up to you if you want to do that buyer's letter. Hopefully this was helpful. In another video, we're going to cover kind of what goes into structuring a successful offer. And so I'll see you on that next video.